Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Lammersville Unified School District Board of Education to order at 7 o'clock. I'd like to remind everyone to please silence or turn off your cell phones as this meeting is being recorded. And at this time, I would like to call Cuesta Elementary School Principal Sharp forward to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. I'm Heather Sharp, Principal, Quest Elementary. I'm not doing the Pledge of Allegiance. My ASB is doing the Pledge of Allegiance, so I'm going to call them up.
Thank you.
Please rise.
Please stand.
Salute pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we do have a short presentation, and the students are going to start off. So students, if you could introduce yourselves.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Nishita Zain. I'm the ASB president of Cuesta. With me, I have the vice president of Cuesta, Ratish Sivaraj. Today, we will be having a presentation about the events that are going on in Cuesta and the successes throughout. So the first recent event that we have is the ASB flowergrams. ASB students sold and delivered 160 flowergrams to students and staff for Valentine's Day. The flowergrams included a personalized card and a big flower. We sold them for $3 each, which meant that we made $480 in total. Another event is the NED Show. Students attended the NED Show, which showed them how they could be champions at life by following NED's 3 rules: to never give up, to encourage others, and to do your best. The drama elective class led by Mrs. Lonecker performed a musical called Bullies Anonymous, which showed different ways kids can be bullies and what students can do to stop them.
Another recent event was the Cuesta Science Night. Cuesta families were able to see all of the science fair projects done by students and classes, as well as take part in hands-on science demonstrations led by students. The students were all 7th graders, and the science fair was led by Mr. Pentecost. Read Across America Week is something that's coming up for Cuesta. It's from February 26th to March 2nd. Students will be celebrating Dr. Seuss by dressing up based on some of his books, and class will be participating in various activities. And on Dr. Seuss's birthday, all students will be getting a Cat in the Hat pencil to encourage them to continue reading in life. The Kindness Challenge is another event that's coming up in Cuesta. It's from March 26th to 30th, and CJSF will be planning this event. There will be a kickoff assembly, and each student will be given a sheet of different acts of kindness that they can perform and keep track of. Cuesta School-wide Act of Kindness will be a fundraiser for the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Thank you so much for listening to our presentation. We hope you have a great evening.
Thank you.
Questions or comments by the board?
Great job. Thank you very much.
Roll call, please.
Matthew Balzerini.
Here.
Colin Clements.
Here.
Ann Goodrich.
Absent.
Sharon Lempel.
Here.
David Pombo.
Here.
Simran Gunsi.
Here.
Approval and/or corrections to the agenda.
There are none.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, awards for the American Mathematics Competition. 8, staff report.
Yeah, we'd like to have the board come on down here in front of the dais, and we'll have Assistant Superintendent Sherburne come up, and we'll have a short ceremony for the students.
Good evening, trustees, Superintendent Nicholas, and members of the audience. It is my pleasure to be here to help recognize students who have had extraordinary achievement in the American Mathematics 8 competition, which we have students, a good number of students, I don't have the exact count, but somewhere close to 20, I believe, compete in the 6th through 8th grade range for this competition. And we have students who have worked hard enough and earned the scores that would award them gold, silver, or bronze medals. So students, when I call your name, please come on up. We'll start over on this end. Shake hands, come down this line. You'll receive your certificate and your medals on this side, and we'll have you wait over here to take a picture at the end. All right? Okay, so first in bronze place, we have Mahit Namburu, Ramanan Ganesan, Sanskriti Singh, Pari Sharma, Jacqueline Parira, and Siram Renga. Congratulations on your bronze medals. Earning the silver medal, Aditya Gundlapalli, and Ashlyn Royce. Congratulations on your achievement. And the gold medal goes to Pranav Ganti. Congratulations. All right, why don't we have you all come on up here to the center so we can take a picture.
Over here.
Play with the kids, they're like, huh?
Very good job, kids. Thanks. If you students and parents would like to leave at this time, you may. If you'd like to stick around and witness our meeting, you can do that too. Thank you. Item 6, presentation, Mountain House High School, Western Association of Schools and Colleges, WASC report.
We'd like to invite Principal Febuary and Assistant Principal Hellstrom up to give a presentation. WASC is a fundamentally significant accreditation process that takes a monumental effort. This is the report review, and we look forward to excellent results.
Mr. President, my monitor's out, so for the presentation. I'm going to shift to the next seat so I can look on.
All right. Very well.
Well, good evening, board members, superintendent. Thank you for having us here tonight. We're here to present to you a little bit, a summary of our Western Association of Schools and Colleges report, self-study report that we have been working on for the last year and a half, 2 years, actually since the inception of the school. So we're going to go just a little bit of background, and then a summary of the report itself, and then questions from there. So the Western Association of Schools and Colleges is the regionally accredited organization that accredits all schools and universities west of the Rockies and all the way into any American type school that goes into Asia as well. So all the way schools in Japan and China who are American schools get accredited by this association. It's the high school and any school that's going through the accreditation process actually does a self-study process, and a group of trained volunteers come to the site to actually take a look at the study and then compare it to what we're actually doing in the school. And we have copies of it right now. Yes. Joni's going to pass them out.
That was timing.
Right? So we did email it to you previously, but this is just a hard copy of the document itself. So,
Which is different than the presentation that you're giving.
yes,
A little bit on the longer side.
that's the the long form of what we're telling you today. So part of the WASC process is a continuous improvement cycle. It's opportunity for the school to look at itself and the plans that we have in connection with the district plans that we have as well. We do the self-study, the visit happens. We implement after the visit happens, the visiting team will give us feedback on that plan. We actually alter, the very last thing we'll do is alter the final goals of that plan according to anything that if they have any additional feedback for us. And then after that happens, we implement the plan, follow up with what we said we were going to do in our plan for the next 6 years, and then reassess at the end and do another self-study at the end of that, whereupon another group would come and visit us again. So the initial report was submitted the year that we opened, and candidacy status was achieved. I'd just like to point out that that was actually quicker than most schools do it. They don't usually do it till the second year of opening, but because we had seniors joining us the very next year, we needed to have our candidacy accreditation to graduate students from an accredited school. So we have candidacy status right now. We had one follow-up visit in the interim. Now we've done our self-study. We have had a teacher coordinator this year who has a release period. She's an English teacher who helped us put together the document. We started working on this at the spring of last school year. We have met during department collaboration times, during faculty meetings, during leadership councils, multiple times to get feedback from not just teachers, but from classified personnel, from parents, from students. In our school site council meetings, lots of time has been spent to put this together. Joni Hellstrom, our vice principal, has been instrumental since the spring of 2017 in organizing the effort to get this document written. So most of this document, kudos to Joni and her team, Carrie Moquette. They've been working on it tirelessly to get that document completed. But all the staff were part of focus groups and contributed to the report. Most recently, we met with our site council to present them with this document and a similar summary of the document to be able to get any additional feedback that they might need in anticipation of the visit that will happen that's coming up. So let's see. Just an overview before I turn it over to Joni to give you the actual summary of the document itself. It starts with a school profile, self-study findings that include all of those sections that you see there. Then we identify our critical areas of need and the things that we need to improve on, and then create an action plan according to those critical areas of need and address that. So I'll turn it over to Joni.
Absolutely.
Just a side note, when you want to look through this 170-page document in your free time later, there really is great and interesting information in the school profile and supporting data section. The data is organized by the 8 state priorities for LCFF funding, and so it's really interesting. We did a lot of deep dives and looked very closely at a lot of our data across the board, including perception surveys from students and staff down to data on attendance and grades and all kinds of interesting things. So it was a really great one-stop shop to take a look at some of that. And then that data is what sprung a lot of our discussions to come to these findings. Here's your Spark Notes version. If you're my age, they were called Cliff Notes when I was younger. Version of just some of the key findings that we came out with. And our goal was to be super honest with ourselves as a school. I think we're awesome. I think we do great things. But there's a lot of room for us to improve and grow and to move with the needs of our community and our students. So there are 5 sections that we reflected on. These were just a couple of strengths that came out of that, strengths and areas for growth. So under organization, it actually was a finding of ours, honestly, that the board is so involved in our school and that you're walking classrooms and you come and see what's going on. In other districts, that's not the case. So that was a strength that we found. And also that we have a school-wide mission and vision that is followed through down to the classroom levels, and that everybody is committed to our mastery-based learning and our student outcomes, and that is really implemented school-wide. So there were some strengths in our organization. Some areas for us to grow is for us to improve and continue to create our written policies and procedures and to have those a little more solidified, and to continue, obviously, to improve on our communication with parents, with ourselves, with you, with everyone, and to have better processes for that. The next section we looked at is our curriculum itself that's being offered, and so a strength that was found is that the overall approach to our curriculum is mastery-based learning, and that's the philosophy that supersedes everything we do in the classrooms, and also that a lot of the curriculum is based on project-based learning, real-world applications, real application of knowledge that's beyond fact memorizing. Some areas that we saw that we could grow is vertical alignment. Honestly, within our school, from Spanish 3 to Spanish 2 to Spanish 1, and from our K-8 schools up through the high school. And that's an area that we want to work towards having better alignment across the board. And then also we want to grow and solidify our CTE pathways in the curriculum that we're offering through our career and technical education. So those are a couple highlights there. The other area is the instruction, the way that we deliver the curriculum. So as you can see, a couple strengths is that we really focus on using technology and blended learning strategies to try to meet the 21st century children that we're working with. And another strength we found is that in every classroom, teachers are using rubrics to grade work that students do, even in math, or even in those very numbers-oriented areas. And it provides clear expectations for students and really clear feedback for them on their work. And so we saw this as a strength in instruction. Areas for growth is using collaboration, professional development time to really assist our teachers. We have a young and a new staff, and even those of us that are less young and new. But to use the time that we have to really work towards better strategies, teachers helping teachers and supporting each other in the way they're instructing and delivering curriculum to students. And I've turned it upside down all by myself. Ta-da. The last 2 categories is assessment is one of the categories we reflected on. And a couple of things we found as strengths. We actually find that the fact that all teachers use Canvas, a very transparent way to show students how they're doing as far as their grades, and parents. The rubrics are in there, the feedback from teachers to students on how they're doing in their courses and on their assignments was a strength that we have started to use and will continue to use. Some interim assessment blocks with the CAS test and other formalized assessments to help us gauge student progress. And then an area we saw for growth is to continue to improve how we use success and continue to improve the data from success and continuing. Right now we do a fairly good job of using our collaboration period for teachers within a subject area to take data and use that data to drive instruction and what they need to do next or how they need to support students. We want to work towards some more whole school dissemination of data and whole school approaches, and success would be one of our areas that we as an entire school could work together on using data to improve how we're offering interventions to our students. Finally, the last category is school culture. A couple strengths is that we have some great support services. We have a great number of counselors at our school, and there are a lot of programs and clubs and sports and a lot of ways and opportunities for students to be involved and for students to be heard and have support when they need it. I think our two biggest areas for growth, one is to brand ourselves and really define what it means to be a Mustang and who are we and what does it mean to go to Mountain House High School, what are we proud of? And in that, to improve our overall culture and how kids feel about being at our school. And then our next level is to also look at restorative justice and how to incorporate that throughout our discipline procedures, our positive reinforcements, and that would be a really big area for us moving forward. So we went through all of these areas, we reflected, the teachers wrote long sections that you will see and came up with a lot of ideas about areas for growth, and then we came together as a group and brought those down into 4 main goal areas. That's the last page you'll see in this action plan, our goals. You may want to look later, of course, but in the back of our document, at the end where it lists our action plan, we lay out the specifics of each of these goals and what our measurable outcomes will be, how we'll know that we're meeting those goals. But the goals are in line with the district goals that we've worked on together for our school. They're lined up with the LCAP plan for the district. But the 4 areas that we have goals to improve on can continue to improve our mastery-based learning approaches and refine that, to continue to improve our use of collaboration time with the teachers, to continue to look at success and interventions for students, closing any achievement gaps there, and to continue to refine and make robust learning pathways, hybrid programs, online programs, CTE programs, so that there is something that we offer that fits the needs of every student that wants to walk through our doors. This is my plug for you at the very end. The WASC committee is a group of teachers. They volunteer their time. Last year, I went and was on a WASC committee and visited a school in San Jose. I reviewed their self-study. I spent 3 days at their school, and then at the end, their job is to tell us if what they see in the report matches what is really happening at the school, and if there's any glaring things that we missed in our reflection process. So our committee is coming to see our school in March. They have asked to meet with the board, so you can see on there the meeting that is set. The dates and the times are preset by the WASC committee. I don't have a lot of control over that. They tell us who they want to see and when, and then we try to make that happen. So if that can work in your schedules, we would love to invite you to come on Sunday, March 18th from 3:30 to 4. They'd like to meet specifically with the board at that time. There are other times they will meet with district leaders, and so they really would like to hear it from the board. And if you can't be there, completely understand. We all have lives. But it would be great if you could, and we'll feed you, and we'll have nice food there. And then if you're interested, at the end of the visit, they're going to share out their findings with the whole staff. And again, I know that you're involved and are very interested in the workings of our school, and so if you would like to come, they're not requesting the board, but if you would like to, on March 21st at 3:45, we'll gather the whole staff together, and the WASC committee will report what they found and what they saw from their visit, and they'll report that to all of us. So you're welcome to come to that if you would like as well. What questions do you have for me, for Mr. Febuary?
I just actually have 2 comments.
Absolutely.
I was thrilled to hear that you're aligning this with the other plans that we have. Those of us that have been in education for a long time, we know most plans are in a binder on the shelf and nobody ever looks at them. So aligning everything that we have will give it a lot of strength. Yeah. And thank you for the board assignment, because I had it in my calendar for 2 hours, and you just reduced it to 30 minutes. Thank you.
You're welcome. I can take it down smaller if that'll help anybody else. I can get it to 20, 22. Any other questions or comments?
I also have it in my calendar. I think I replied to, I think it was Noel's email that I would be there. When will, or has this already gone to the WASC?
It's gone.
It's already gone. It was due a couple weeks ago.
That's what I thought. And the feedback that we get on this will be the 21st. We don't get anything between now and then. They do the visit and the whole 9 yards. Okay.
That is correct. And in fact, we get initial feedback on the 21st, but we don't actually get their report till a month or two later, I think about 4 or
Yeah.
5 weeks later.
They typically give you an idea about what happens. So there's three different things that could happen. Why don't you tell them the three different things? It's like 6 years with a,
You can get a 6-year
Yeah.
accreditation with submitting a report at the 3-year mark. You get a 6-year accreditation with a 1-day visit or with a 2-day visit at the 3-year mark. Or you can get a 1-year accreditation, which means that they think your school's a bit of a joke. So I
I'm
absolutely
sorry,
don't.
what, they think what?
I probably shouldn't have said. It just means that they're very concerned about your school.
that's not going to happen.
And that you're not presenting yourselves well.
With a lead-in like that, if we get a 1 year, that's a problem.
If you get a 1 year, it's like you lied on the self-report and you
Yeah.
didn't talk to anybody, and the principal and the vice principal sat in a room alone and wrote it together, which did not happen.
Exactly. So I fully anticipate, in all honesty, that we will get a 3 or 6 year with some type of visit at the 3-year mark. And mostly the reason for that is because this is our first self-study, and while we have great processes in place, I think they're going to want to see that we are continuing on the path that we say they are, and that we are, that we don't lose our gusto after the school's all open and the shininess is over. So we will find out for sure what our accreditation was about a month or so after the visit, but they may hint around a little bit while they're there. They're just not allowed to tell us.
So we'll get some kind of update after you receive the final report from them, right?
Absolutely.
No, they'll leave us in the dark.
Yeah.
and-
I'll send Mr. Febuary back and he'll give you an update.
Well, thanks.
Any other questions? Anything else we can do for you tonight?
Thanks for all your hard
All
work.
right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Committee reports, District Advisory Committee,
Nothing to report.
District English Language Advisory Committee.
Okay, you went too fast. Okay, here we go. So the District English Learner Advisory Committee met on February 15th. The evening consisted of a multicultural potluck dinner and student performances. Mrs. Busatil reviewed assessments students are taking and the purpose of each so the parents understand what their children are doing. She also offered parents ideas of how to help struggling readers and encouraging second language learners to read at home. Our next meeting is May 3rd at 6:30 in the Lammersville School Multipurpose Room.
Thank you. Education and Extracurricular Committee.
Our next meeting is February 27th, 6:30 here in the boardroom.
Thank you. Facilities Committee, we have not had a meeting since the last board meeting. Our next scheduled board meet, or facilities meeting is May 17th at 6:30 here in the boardroom. Policy Committee.
Before you tonight are going to be changes in the law as in regards to our policies that we're going to have a first reading of, and then we'll continue to work through the backlog, and we'll bring more policies in the near future.
Thank you. Safety Committee.
Our next meeting is on the 21st. We're going to continue to discuss preparedness and response to potential emergencies on our campuses. In light of what's happened recently in this country, I believe that we have a lengthy discussion ahead of us.
Thank you. Wellness Committee. We met recently and discussed, among other things, the character counts training that was held February 5th. Next step is to have a 3-day trainers training sometime in early summer, I believe. It's yet to be scheduled. Mental health counselor, Julie Corona, is working on a referral process for administration, which administration will review. This position is a support of general ed students referred to for assistance with mental health issues, also a timely topic. We discussed the farmers market events, which will be held March 20th at Lammersville and Wickland, March 21st at Altamont, and March 22nd at Bethany and Cuesta. We also discussed the suicide prevention manual that members of the committee were given to work through different sections, and they came back with recommendations, and those recommendations will be forwarded to staff to compile. And that will be included in our wellness plan. Wellness policy has been submitted to the policy committee for review and will come to the board for approval at a future meeting. The wellness plan will come to the board at the end of the school year once we've added the suicide prevention policy. And there was a presentation by a Mountain House High School and HOSA club member, Nidhi Baskarbhala, and her mother, Sri Padma Gurakapati. Hope I didn't butcher those too badly. And they presented on that on the Health Expo. They mentioned there were 500 attendees estimate and 50 vendors with some keynote speakers, and they talked about possible things that we can do next year to make it bigger and better. Governing board reports. Madam Trustee Gunsey.
I just want to congratulate the JV girls soccer team. They got second place in their conference. Also, for the first time in the school's short 4-year history, one of the teams for the boys basketball has won league. So congratulations to the boys freshman basketball team for that.
Thank you. Trustee Clements.
I wanted to clarify that I moved over because I also managed to forget my distance glasses, so the only way I was going to see the presentation was something close up. I did attend the CSBA workshop with all of my fellow board members. I thought it was informative and thought-provoking and did leave with significant food for thought, so I really appreciated the opportunity. And that is it, Mr. President.
Thank you. Trustee Balzerini.
I conducted a site visit on the 14th at Lammersville. Thank you for having me, Principal Buzatil and your staff. A lot of great things going on over there. The use of technology is wonderful, and it's nice to see some new additions to the facilities. And then yesterday I had a visit with curriculum. So Ms. Sherburne, thank you very much, and to your staff. Had a nice little kind of roundtable discussion about all the great things that are happening, all the initiatives that are going on. So congratulations on a job well done. I just wanted to mention for the board, I have been getting a few phone calls from some members of the public around safety in the community. It's no secret with over 20 years of service in the public safety sector. I'm very passionate about it, and we have a good team working hard to make sure that our schools are safe. We have plans in place that we update regularly. And we have a committee that works tirelessly at training and reviewing drill concepts and drills, and we will continue to do that. What's going on in our nation is extremely disturbing, and I just want to assure everyone that our heads are not in the sand. We have discussed it. I do think we're ready should anything like this happen, and that we pray that it doesn't. So, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Lampel.
So I also attended the CSBA workshop with the entire board last Saturday, and we worked through some good protocols and how to continue working together as a productive board. I've been attending the Community Services District meetings each month to report happenings here in Lammersville Unified. And I plan to continue to attend those meetings. They seem to appreciate hearing what's going on that they're not hearing from elsewhere, and fundraisers and all the fabulous stuff that's going on in Lammersville. I've reached out to President Moreno and requested that Lammersville Unified be placed on the agenda rather than trying to squeeze my report into 3 minutes. He graciously gave me an extra minute last week. President Moreno is thrilled to place us on their agenda in their information section. Therefore, with the CSD formalizing my reports, I would like to request that this become a formal board assignment that I'm happy to continue with.
Thank you, and your request will be brought back as a discussion item at a future board meeting. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
My board report. My wife and I attended the NCPA show at Dublin, where Mountain House High School Winter Percussion placed third in their division. Very, very impressive. I also attended, along with all my fellow board members and Superintendent Nicholas, the CSBA workshop, and we worked on board roles, protocols, norms, and board self-evaluation. I felt it was a very productive and informative day, and the team building aspect was great. I would like to piggyback on something that Trustee Balzerini had in his report, and that is that I appreciate all the hard work of the Safety Committee, and the Wellness Committee that I sit on is working hand in hand with the Safety Committee to make sure that mental health and bullying issues and those types of things are addressed in this district and taken very, very seriously. And that concludes my report. Thank you. Receiving of public comments. The board shall give members of the public an opportunity to address the board either before or during board's consideration of each agenda item. At a time so designated on the agenda, members of the public may also bring before the board matters that are not listed on the agenda of a regular meeting. The board may refer such a matter to the superintendent or designee or take it under advisement, but shall not take action at that time. The board may place the matter on the agenda of a subsequent meeting for discussion or action. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. And with that, I have a couple of speaker cards here. Stephanie Olson. Welcome.
Thank you. President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. I'm here tonight about a matter of concern to me that I have believe falls under the district's purview as opposed to an individual school. And given our shared pride, I'd say I guess, in our beautiful and excellent high school facilities, I believe that when I bring this matter to your attention tonight, it will yield an immediate correction. As many of you know, I sit on the Citizens Oversight Committee for the Measure L bond that was passed last June. And as one of 7 community members on the committee, I have had the privilege of taking several tours of all the wonderful things being done with our bond money. From the new state-of-the-art theater to the music rooms with lockers for all the instruments and the CTE building and beyond, our high school is something that represents excellence, not just in its structures, but in a beautiful community and student population that is housed there. And I believe that we can show it all off with much pride until we get to the baseball field. I'm extremely disappointed in the maintenance of this field. I have traveled to many high schools with my boys throughout their high school baseball careers. My younger son is a junior this year. And I've seen many high school baseball fields, and I'm saddened to see that our $130 million high school, with all its beautiful facilities, its Stanford-looking administration building, state-of-the-art pool, that our baseball field is one of the poorest maintained I've ever seen. We have an amazing baseball program at Mountain House High. I'm sure some of you know, like Dr. Nicholas, that they did well in the playoffs last year, and they're primed to best that performance this season. And what Coach Gatehouse and his assistant coaches and players are building here is nothing short of a baseball legacy. I assure you that that's going to happen, and where the Mustangs of Mountain House were going to be known throughout the Central Valley and Bay Area for their baseball prowess. But quite frankly, the program feels shortchanged given the condition of the facilities. I've worked with Mountain House Little League for years as a board member, and I know that the district did not maintain Bethany Field very well, but I understand that because we didn't have a high school then, and we didn't have a baseball team, so outside leagues were not the priority of the district. But now we do. We definitely have a baseball team, and we have one field at our high school that represents baseball, just one field. So when anybody comes here for a baseball game and they see that one field, you know, that's representing our school and community as well. We allotted money for the football field to save money for the turf replacement. I think we waxed the basketball field, or basketball field courts to keep them maintained. It's only within reason that the district would also do the same with the baseball field. And given my experience with baseball, You can't just maintain the court at the start of a season. It's a year-round process, and it will save the district money if it's done accordingly. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming here today and speaking with us, and I would like to direct staff to please look into this.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Samuel Olson. Welcome.
Thank you. President Pombo, trustees, and Dr. Nicholas, my name is Samuel Olson, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Mountain House High School baseball team players about the conditions of our field. As a student of the high school, I take great pride in representing the school, but it's kind of hard to take pride in such a poorly maintained field. Not only is it an eyesore, but it has become a safety hazard to the players, as a lot of them have almost been hit in the face on several occasions by what should be routine ground balls that take bad bounces. But since the field is in such poor condition, it's almost like every ground ball takes a bad hop. It's hard to think that we have such beautiful facilities like our football field, our gym, our beautiful weight room, swimming pool, and theater. Yeah, our baseball field is one of the worst in the area. I've seen a lot of them playing baseball throughout the years, and this is definitely one of the worst that I've seen, and one of the most poorly maintained. I just hope that the next time you're discussing budget that the baseball field comes into that discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. I will direct staff to look into that as well.
We
Thank
will.
you. Moving on, item 10, consent items for consideration. Governing board meeting minutes from the regular meeting of February 7th, ratification of contracts under 25,000, ratification of resignations, updated 2017-2018 fundraisers, and budget revisions and warrants. Is there anything here that any of my fellow board members would like to remove for discussion?
I have a question about one of them, but not to remove for approval. Okay? So, Alvina.
Yes.
I lost the page number. Hold on just a sec, I'm sorry. There we go. On consent item E, on the budget revisions, there's something about CTEIG that reduces our revenue by over $123,000. What is that?
So that represents the Career Technical Education Incentive Grant. And
Okay.
it was a journal entry that needed to be done, not a budget revision. So we had to make that adjustment. And it just happened to cross between 2 months. So there was an increase in a prior budget revision, but we had to take it out. So,
I just didn't know what the acronym was.
yes,
Thank
and I'll
you.
make sure to direct staff to
Okay.
put out the full. I'm used to 016387.
Yeah.
So that was a difference.
I'd also like to point out to the public to note that while it looks like we're receiving a great deal of additional funds from our special education group, the amount we spend on special education far outweighs every penny we receive, because the funding from the state and federal education departments doesn't come close to the cost of educating our special populations. These budget adjustments result in an overall $180,000 less for our students, if you happen to read the budget in detail.
And just to piggyback on that, our district is not alone in that.
No.
Every district out there is underfunded when it comes to special education needs. Further questions or comments by the board?
Move to approve consent items.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent items are approved. Item 11, District Administrative Report, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Nicholas?
Yeah, I'd like to invite Associate Superintendent Harrison up. This is a really exciting concept that Mr. Harrison brought to our district, and it's our first foray into trying to explain all that we're doing with data in one page. So Mr. Harrison is going to explain our infographic, and I have a paper copy for the board here, and then, of course, we have the one on screen.
Board President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. So as Dr. Nicholas pointed out, this is an infographic that has the indicators for student success. Now, the indicators for student success that we put on this document envelop both the LCAP plan and our strategic plan. So as I go through the data sets, know that these data sets are a snapshot of student performance that we use in multiple areas, LCAP, strategic plan, etc. So let me start. There we go. So let me start with demographics. Thank you. As you can see, the graphic on the left, it shows the district demographics by race, and then obviously there is a section for 2 or more races when it comes to the demographics. Moving from the left to the right, you'll notice that supplemental populations, that verbiage comes from LCAP or LCFF, and our special education population is 7.1%. Our SED, socioeconomically disadvantaged population, is 12.1%, and then our English learners are 11.3%. So the nice, beautiful, big graphic in the middle is very telling. Highest performing district in the county. We wanted to make sure that that was known, and it's true. So we wanted to make sure it was there right in the middle. Moving from the left to the right, I'll start on the left with the blue box, graduation. We have a 98% of students graduated. This is a 14.8% higher than the state average. So we're performing very well when it comes to grad rate. Our attendance rate is 96% attendance rate, and our chronic absenteeism rate is 8.6%, which is 6.8% lower than the San Joaquin County area. You'll notice that some of these data points that I'm discussing with you were also presented when we did the 5x5 grids at the last board meeting that everybody was frustrated with. Well, we're trying to put it into a format that's more easily understood and in one place. The next is suspension rate, 3.8% overall suspension rate, and there's another graphic later on that will discuss that more. And then if you go to the top right, the big red box, you notice our ELA success on CASP, 68% of students meeting or exceeding standards in ELA, and 57% of students meeting or exceeding standards in math on the CASP. Our English learner progress indicator, we decreased by 5% over the 2016-17 school year, but you'll remember from our 5x5 grid, we were still in the yellow area, which meant that we did have some progress. And then when you move down to the 57% of our students pass AP exams, so 240 students took 393 exams in 2017. That's a very high pass rate. I could not find a high school in the area that had a higher pass rate. We should be very proud of that. So this is a bar chart of our Smarter Balanced Assessment, and it's a comparison of our scores compared to San Joaquin County and California. It's a nice little comparison showing how we outperform both areas in both math and ELA. Are you just doing it for me? Thank you. I didn't touch it in a way. Then on the bottom left, you'll notice that we did include some of the pie charts, and that's just kind of a summary of the pies that we presented at the last board meeting. And you'll notice ELA and math on the left, we showed growth. Our EL progress, we were in the yellow pie, but we did show growth for grades 1 through 12. And then our suspension rate, we had a challenge there. We did increase a little bit in our suspension rate. That's an area that we need to work on and are working on. And then our local indicators, which was we brought to the board in September. And we met all of the requirements for the local indicators. We talked about that at the last board meeting. So K-8 metrics. So this whole left side of the infographic is K-8 metrics. This is the third grade CASP results, and you'll notice on the left are the ELA results, on the right are the math results. At the bottom we have the overall percentage of the results, and then we break it out by subgroup. And you can see the overall is 61 for ELA, 66 for math when it comes to third grade. Another indicator that we thought was very important was 8th grade math. So 58% of students met or exceeded standards on CASP. That data is from April of 2017, sorry. And 33% of our 8th graders, or 132 students, are enrolled in Secondary Math 1 as 8th graders. That's a very good statistic for us. That's a third of our students in 8th grade are taking Secondary Math 1, which is fantastic. Moving to your right, 72% of the students met or exceed standards on MAP, and that data is from January of 2018. We'll have the second round of data here coming up next week. So the DRA assessment is given to our first graders. 61% of first grade students advanced or are on track for first trimester. And then on the right, you'll notice we put in a little bar chart that indicates advanced, on track, near, or below, so we can see exactly where our students are. Now, obviously, the 61% is a combination of on track and advanced. So we have 39% of our students that we need to work on advancing. Okay? Grades 3 through 8 EL proficiency rate. So this is a CASP results for our EL students. I want you to notice at the bottom we have 136 EL students in grades 3 through 8. So this data is reflective of those 136 students. 15% on the CASP showed proficiency in ELA and 22 in math. Then moving to the right side is the 912 metrics. So over here we put some data related to student participation and data sets. Early college enrollment, 33 students in the 9th grade cohort, 26 in the 10th, 31 in the 11th grade cohort. The first cohort will graduate in May of 2019, and we also added in the awards that program has received, just as a little graphic. Next slide, thank you. So this is the Alternative Education and Online Pathway program at the high school. 45 students enrolled in credit recovery. We had 50 students enrolled in online pathway, and 253 students participated in ACT and SAT prep to prepare for those assessments. UC-CSU requirements, 48% of our students met the UC-CSU requirement. That was an increase of 23%. And then extracurricular engagement, 76% of students in the grades 9-12 used the Superfan app to check in at sporting events. So that kind of shows us, the participation rate of students at the high school, which I think is an important indicator for the whole complete high school program. And then the pathways, 55% of enrolled students earned pathway designation, meaning they had 3 years of a CTE pathway. That was decreased a little bit. I think that's due to the fact that we're still establishing our pathways, having a 3-year progression in our pathways, and they are still expanding. And then we listed our pathways there on the right side that are at the high school. Now, those indicators on the right side, you'll notice a lot of that is college and career preparation, and that is a key indicator for our high school. So, and that's it for the infographic. Any questions?
Is this going to be on the website?
Yes, ma'am.
This is fabulous.
Further questions or comments by the board?
It was great, a lot of information in one document, very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great, I'm still trying to take it all in.
Yeah.
A lot of information packed into a little area, that's great.
Mr. President.
I had a question about the extracurricular engagement.
I'm sorry, yes.
Number, the 76%. That's students who've actively checked in at sporting events?
Well, they have an app that they use that students check in, and I guess they receive points when they do it, and it's a program to incentivize kids going to events.
That was my question was, what was their incentive to check in? Because if it's just check in if you feel like it, then 76% is a really, really high number. If it's something that is encouraged in some fashion, then it's probably more indicative of the actual students that are involved.
Yes, sir. It is incentivized.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So what I like about this infographic is in the CST days, you got one number, and you were either proficient in advanced or you weren't any good. And this tells you just how complicated a school system really is. I mean, you've got 30 or 40 pieces of information there from a variety of different places, from 13 different grade levels and multiple programs. And we could have probably created a whole nother one of these. So what we're really proud of is that this is the first time I can say in the 5 years I've been here that we have real data coming that we can, it's longitudinal in some ways and it's brand new in other ways where we can have those real conversations about what's working and what's not working, explain it to the community, and then explain how we're trying to address it or why we're celebrating it. So this is the beginning of many more things like this to come, but I want to thank Mr. Harrison. This is his brainchild, and but I also think that because it's such a good piece of information, I think the community can digest it and better understand who we really are when we talk about our district.
Thank you, Associate Superintendent Harrison. A lot of good information here, and I'm sure a lot of work went into putting it together.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I thank Brian Shum? He did a lot of data mining for us. He was very instrumental in getting the data and getting it accurate. So thanks to him.
Thank you.
There's one more thing here. So I just wanted to give the board an opportunity to take a look at one of the things we promised at the end of the passage of Measure L was we would send an update out to the community as our projects progressed. This is a draft of a mailer that's going to be sent out to the community. I like the title, Promises Made, Promises Kept. This board made a courageous decision to choose to go forward with Measure L. We did it in a very short timetable. Our community stood up for the name of our education system and our students, and we passed it with over 62% approval. 18 months later, we have some of the best facilities in the state of California, and this is just a short little update of projects that Measure L have, with board approval, have been approved, moved forward, and built. There'll be another one probably a year from now as we get further down on our projects. But we just wanted to give you a draft of this before we went through the process of mailing it out. But something to be very proud of for everyone involved. And then speaking of building, this map here is the permit map of neighborhood D, known as Cordes Village. And anything with a color means it's a permitted house or it's a process in some way, shape, or form in the process of becoming a house. And so if you notice all the colors there, and we realized that last year at this time there were weeds there, there's a very rapid expansion of people buying houses. We are currently housing a large number of students from Cordes, and I just wanted you to get a sense of the impact this building momentum is having in terms of how quickly things are coming, and our conversations about building a school in that community named Cordes Elementary was warranted, and we're moving along with that. But I wanted you just to get a visual sense of how fast this is going. And Mr. President, that is my report.
Thank you, and thank you for the correct pronunciation, Cordes, not Cortez, like I've heard a lot of people call it. Are there any questions or comments from the board about either the mailer or the Cordes Village map?
This looks real good.
If I may, one of the things that a few of us left out about our Saturday workshop is that we started the day with a tour of the theater and the CTE building. And wow, incredibly impressive. And I can't wait to see kids in that CTE building using it. And I want middle seat on that first production in that theater, Mr. Febuary. Awesome.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item B, district enrollment report. Dr. Nicholas?
Our enrollment presently is 4,947 students, and I can tell you that officially that's number's actually higher by 8 as of today. So we've hit 4,950.
Questions or comments?
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Item C, district maintenance and operations report. Mr. LeGrand.
Mr. LeGrand had a family obligation. Mr. Harrison will be stepping in his place.
Board President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas.
Welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Legrand attended a solar training for the new system for the pool at the high school on Tuesday, the 13th. He had an annual safety inspection for all sites with Keenan. He walked Keenan all day and said he was exhausted, and the Keenan representative was not. He received positive comments from the inspector about how well and maintained and clean our schools are. She did not find any high-level hazards or any hazards that needed any attention. She was very happy to see that the playground at Lammersville was replaced. She indicated that that was the oldest playground equipment in her assigned school area. So no longer, now it's the newest. She had a few suggestions, and we'll follow up with a written report on her suggestions that she had. Jimmy had a follow-up meeting with our HVAC vendor on Friday regarding the concerns that were relayed to him regarding annual service. He had a meeting, he attended the Hanson construction meeting this afternoon. Project is moving along nicely. Upcoming events, he's meeting with the grounds vendor tomorrow morning at the high school to check irrigation issues that have been ongoing and meet the new foreman for our account. We have a new foreman in our account. There's more training at the high school for the theater AV equipment on Friday the 23rd. Both Jimmy and I are meeting with the Delta Bluegrass people on the 23rd on Friday for potential turf replacement projects at several sites around the district. Any questions?
Any update on cameras?
Yes, we have received bids for the cameras, and we are close to choosing a vendor.
Very good, thank you.
Other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to item 12, action items. A, consider approval of 2017-2018 intra-district transfer requests. Staff report?
None.
I'll move for approval of the 2017-18 intra-district transfer requests as presented.
Second.
Further discussion?
Sorry. Jumped the gun, Mr. President, I apologize.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, consider approval of 2018-2019 outgoing inter-district transfer requests. Staff report?
None.
Move to approve 2018-19 outgoing interdistrict transfer requests.
Second. I think she beat me by a hair.
She did. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C. I got ahead of myself and crossed it off before I read it. Consider approval of new certificated management job description, Associate Principal of Curriculum and Instruction. Staff report?
Yeah, we strongly recommend the board approve this job description. This is a position that goes hand in hand with building a plane while flying it. With the enormity of work, programs, projects going on right now at the high school, there is still a significant amount of support. If we're going to be what we aspire to be, this position would provide support in areas that right now are being, people are working extraordinarily hard to keep it going, but we need somebody to focus full time. Any specific questions, I'll pass the questions over to Mr. Harrison, who filled this position in a previous incarnation. But this was inspired after Mr. Harrison and I met with each of the CTE teachers, and we realized just how much more support we need at the high school.
Questions or comments by the board?
Move to approve new certificated management job description, Associate Principal of Curriculum and Instruction.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, consider approval of school-sponsored overnight trip for Bethany ASB students to the CASL conference, April 5th, 2018 through April 7th, 2018. Staff report?
We just recommend strongly to support our kids at the Castle Conference.
I'll move for approval of the school-sponsored overnight trip for Bethany ASB students to go to the Castle Conference in April.
Second.
Further discussion?
Just a question, maybe for consideration. We seem to be getting a lot more of these, and with that, I go back and I look at the reports, and they're all starting to become kind of cut and paste. What about putting these in consent?
I find myself that it gets cumbersome if we have like 6 of them on here to say, we recommend. So that would be work fine for staff. It would be the board's direction.
Just something for the president's consideration.
Do we have consensus to move these to consent rather than, and even if they're in consent, we can always pull them for discussion if there's a reason to discuss.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Good idea.
I would like to see, not immediately because it takes time, but to do the overnight field trip forms, maybe in a Google Doc, because all of our staff doesn't have the best handwriting. Some of them I have sent Dr. Nicholas an email and said I can't read a thing on there. So if we could move these into 2018, I'd be happy.
Seems like a reasonable request. First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, consider approval of school-sponsored overnight trip for Mountain House High School Key Club to attend the Key Club International District Convention in Reno, Nevada, April 13th through 15th. Staff report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, consider approval of 2018-2019 job share proposals for certificated employees Mia Hicks and Stephanie Martin, and Corinda Lowther and Jessica Reyes. Staff report?
We'd just like to acknowledge our 4 teachers in the back left there. They do work very hard on this, and they do a tremendous job working as a team to help the kids. So we strongly recommend approval on the job share.
Move to approve 2018-2019 job share proposals for certificated employees Mia Hicks and Stephanie Martin and Corinda Lowther and Jessica Reyes.
Second.
And I would just like to say thank you. Thank you, teachers, for the presentation that we had in our board packet. Very, very inclusive of everything that goes on in your classrooms, and we appreciate that.
And year after year, when we get these, I am so impressed with the work that goes into it to truly show us what's going on in the classroom, because without all of that information, how do we say, yes, this is positive? So thank you what you're doing for our kids, and, all those parents wrote that you come with lots of energy, so keep that up, and thank you.
I just also, in reviewing all the information included in the packet here, I appreciate all the hard work. You answered any questions that I could have had, and I appreciate all the hard work on that.
And thank you for coming tonight to be prepared to answer questions.
I'll just say ditto.
Thanks again. Having a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, consider approval of 2016-2017 audit finding corrective action form. Staff report?
This is falls into Alvina's work tied to our audit. If you have any specific questions, she's happy to answer them.
Questions or comments? Just want to say thank you, Alvina, for all the work that all these things take.
Yes.
Thank you.
Move to approve 2016-2017 audit finding corrective action form.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, consider approval of contract award for E-rate funding year 21. AMS.net for uninterrupted power supply upgrade, $32,839. And item 2, San Joaquin County Office of Education Data Processing Center for Internet Access, $80,000. Staff report?
This is the formal explanation of how we're using our E-rate funds.
Questions or comments by the board?
Move to approve contract awards for E-rate funding year 21. AMS.net for uninterrupted power supply upgrade, $32,839. and San Joaquin County Office of Education Data Processing Center for Internet access, $80,900.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and I would just like to correct myself. I said $80,000, and it's actually, as trustee Balzerini said, $80,900. Item I, consider approval of CSBA 2018 Delegate Assembly ballot for Subregion 8A. Staff report?
But we're asking the board to go through an election process or a voting process. It's in a red sheet in your packet. I think you can pick up to 3. There are 3 candidates. Trustee Balzerini, is there anything that you could add to this tied to the CSBA role you play?
All 3 are extremely dedicated individuals. I would recommend that we choose all of them unless, of course, a member of this board would like to write themselves in.
Move to approve all 3? Is that the
Second.
motion you're looking for, Mr. President?
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, information and discussion, 2018-2019 Transitional Kindergarten and Kindergarten Handbook. Are we doing this as one discussion item or as 2 separate discussion items?
One.
One. And item B, first reading of board policies and administrative regulations, new laws and staff recommendations. Staff report?
Oh, I misunderstood the question. I apologize. So A is separate, but it's transitional K and kindergarten. I thought that you were asking if those 2. So we'll have Mr. Harrison come up to answer any specific questions. We, as hard as we try to find all the paper napkin systems, this was one that we discovered this year. So with the onset of TK, we've been placing students, and there's rules to follow, but Mr. Harrison, with the help of Assistant Superintendent Sherburne, put together a specific set of steps so that we have a consistent practice in the district.
I would just like to say thank you very much. I read that thing cover to cover, and then I'm on the legislative committee for CSBA, and I can tell you that there's new legislation coming that's going to try and change all that. Just give you a little good news.
Well, I'll ignore what he just said and say I also read it from cover to cover. And what a fabulous document. Any question that could come up is addressed in there. So thank you for the organization, and just a lot of work went into this, and I'm sorry it's going to change, but we could have anticipated that. It's California education.
California.
Plan to be flexible.
Yeah.
The only constant is change, right?
Yes.
Further discussion or questions by the board? Thank you. Item B, first reading of board policies and administrative regulations, new laws, and staff recommendations.
First, I'm passing out a updated guide sheet that we had a hanger-on term that needed to be taken out, so that's a clean copy. So I want to compliment Mr. Miller for volunteering to take on a project that had a backlog from its inception. And he's taken it with good spirit, and so tonight is our first foray into cleaning up the bottleneck. So just a quick review, we formed a board committee to help review policies and streamline this so we don't have the bottleneck in the future. I believe there's something around 20 new laws or staff recommendations that have been vetted by the policy committee and recommended for review and approval. This is officially the first read. This will show back up on the March 21st board agenda as a second read and vote for approval. There'll be another version of this. So just the system is 221, you're getting the first read of these. We're going to vote for them on March 21st. On March 21st, you're going to get a second set of these backlog ones, and these are ones with options in them that staff will have recommended. And then we will get that approved as a second read on April 18th. So give a month to review them. And then that should handle the significant lion's share of the backlog, and we can get it into a new system where that's not happening.
I have a couple questions, Even being on the committee, I still missed a few things. I went back and looked and I found a couple of things. On the bullying policy, Board Policy 5131.2, page 220 on the PDF, 217 in the packet. Can we add in there somewhere something regarding the Wellness Committee?
What page did you say that was?
It's 220 of the PDF or 217 of the packet. It talks about the strategies for addressing bullying in district schools should be developed with involvement of key stakeholders, including students, parents, guardians, and staff, may be incorporated into a comprehensive safety plan, the local control accountability plan, our wellness committee and wellness plan seems to address more bullying, I think, than at least in this district. I'd like to see if we can capture that in that policy somewhere.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
What does the double underline indicate? In the changes.
In the
So
changes,
there's
all the
strike-throughs and
trackings.
there's underlines, and so what does the double underline mean?
That means it was moved from a different location in the policy to a different location. So it's not new data, it's just new to that location.
Okay, great. Is that the same thing for a double strike-through? Okay. You owe her. All right, I do have some questions. On Board Policy 460, the very first one, I don't know if anyone in this room is going to be able to answer this. Why do we have to adopt language about what the county will adopt? This doesn't make sense to me.
Right, so I think what we're presenting this evening are just all the new laws and regulations that are being presented, whether they are ours or not. We just want you to inform you of what's coming forward.
Right.
In the options, what you'll be seeing are those that do not pertain to us, but we will not be pushing those forward in the future.
Okay, doesn't really
That was actually
answer my question.
That was a question
So-
that the committee had also, is why do we have to even look at policies in regards to charter
The
schools?
county doesn't have to follow our policies.
Right.
And this is our policy, not theirs. So I don't understand it.
Okay. So we will make sure that we correct that in the future.
Well, the whole policy is about the county. So I'm still confused.
I think as far as, if I could ask for some clarification, meaning not to present something that doesn't address or is not meant for us is what I'm understanding you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is there a law that we have to adopt language about what the county will do?
I don't believe so,
don't-
no, but I will
Yeah, okay.
verify that for you, yes.
Thank you. And then moving to Board Policy 2121, page 174. Let me get there. Okay. I really read these. What else do you have a holiday weekend for? Okay. Okay, 174. The last, it's just a typo thing. On page 174, in the last paragraph, it's missing. Somewhere in this paragraph, this last paragraph, there's an end parenthesis missing. Oh, see, in closed session at a regular meeting, however, discussions, blah, 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 blah. There's no end paren there.
Okay,
So
thank you.
just a
We'll
little
fix that.
typo.
We'll fix that.
Okay. On page 235, Board Policy 6144. Give me a sec to get there. Gotta be a faster way to do this. Here we go. Now I'm close. Okay. All right. Number 3. Did we vet this with legal counsel? It says, in the classroom, teachers act on behalf of the district and are expected to follow the adopted curriculum. In leading or guiding class discussions about issues that may be controversial, a teacher may not advocate his or her personal opinion or viewpoint. When necessary, the superintendent or designee may instruct teachers to refrain from sharing personal views in the classroom on controversial topics. I don't disagree with this. I'm just wondering if, because sometimes suggestions that come out of CSBA, we don't necessarily agree with.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, maybe we want to run it by that one section, because controversial topics are controversial.
You said
So-
6144 on page 35?
235, number 3 on the bottom. Yeah. I agree with that. I see how the language changed from the old language, and it's not a problem. I just want us to be cautious. Okay, moving on. I don't have a lot more, I promise. On page AR 6145.2, page 252. I wrote down as many references as I could so we'd be able to find it. Okay, 252. In the middle paragraph, just above additional parental notifications. Oh, everywhere else in here, it talks about a licensed healthcare provider. In the last line, Kirk, if you can see it right here in the middle, it starts with if a student athlete passes out or faints. And in the bottom, it says participation by a healthcare provider. Everywhere else, it says a licensed healthcare provider. So I'm thinking we probably need to add that word there. Okay, that was an easy one. And in board bylaw, this is really for the board president. In board bylaw 9400, talks about the board doing a self-evaluation. So I'd like to maybe add an agenda item on our board, a future board agenda, that we adopt the tool. Because it's not something we've done, so it's new to us. And my last question, Ted, did you know you volunteered for this? Thank you so
I did,
much. That's
yes.
a lot of work, and I really admire the policy committee for everything that they did on this. So thank you to everyone involved.
Thank you.
Actually, I have one more. I'm sorry. Same policy, the 5131.2. A few pages in, it references AR 1312.3. We're going to need to add that to the policy committee agenda because there's a change from assistant superintendent to associate superintendent. So
Yes.
So we'll need to, yes.
Trustee Balzerini, can you give me those numbers again, please?
Sure. It's 5131.2. That policy references AR 1312.3. And it identifies the person who receives complaints as the assistant superintendent. We just need to update that one as well.
Further questions or comments by the board?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to item 14, calendar. Wednesday, March 7th is our next regular governing board meeting here at 7 o'clock. Wednesday, March 21st is the next safety committee meeting at 3:30. In just a moment, we will be adjourning to closed session where we will discuss employee discipline, dismissal, release, complaint, leave of absence request for a classified employee, pupil and personnel matters, conference with labor negotiators, conference with legal counsel, and conference with real property negotiators.
Move to adjourn to closed session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now adjourned to closed session. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Have a good rest of your evening.
Go ahead, David.
You ready?
Yes.
On a motion by trustee Balzerini and seconded by trustee Lampel, the board adopted a resolution pursuant to the Education Code, Section 44929.21, and authorized the district superintendent or his designee to notify certain certificated employees of their release from his/her probationary positions by the following vote. 4 ayes and 1 absent. On a motion by Board Member Clements and seconded by Board Member Balzerini, the board denied leave of absence for classified employee 130232 from February 27th, 2018 to May 3rd, 2018 by the following vote. 4 ayes and 1 absent.
Mr. President, move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We're now adjourned.